Now imagine this. Let's just say you clean toilets for a living, right? And an outside observer looking in looks in here and thinks, man, I'm glad I don't have that dude's job. I'm glad I'm not that dude. But you genuinely love your job. You love cleaning toilets. Now they may say, hey, there's no way this guy actually loves cleaning toilets. But you do. That's your inner attitude. And see, this ties into the last video where I mentioned the concept of inner competence. Because you see, it's really your inner attitude that makes all the difference, not necessarily the outward activity. You could be doing anything outwardly, and on the surface, the appearance, it may seem to an outside observer as if you're just an ordinary average dude, but your inner attitude is that of joy and bliss. You find joy even in cleaning toilets. And see, that's great, because when you put things in the proper context, whatever you do, it's not going to be dependent on a result. You don't neither look forward to a result nor suffer a result, because you're transcendent to the result. You're transcendent to all material reactions, we could call it, to any material criticism. That guy that's looking at you saying, man, glad I don't have that guy's job, kind of looking down on you, right? That's his karma. That's his thought process, and doesn't have to affect you. Your inner attitude is one of joy. Your joy is on self-start. It's not on push start. Whatever you do, you find joy in it. You find bliss in it. Because it's not dependent on something outside of you to push you. You don't rely on external forces or influences to feel that bliss, whatever you do. On this path of joy, ease, and bliss, we can all experience, we can all witness a heightened degree of inner pleasantness when we develop or realize our inner competence. It's not even about development. It's not about personal development, because it's not personal. It's an impersonal attitude, because you see yourself as an eternal servitor, an eternal servitor of the Lord. You put things in that context. Every activity, it may seem, again, ordinary outwardly, but inwardly, your attitude is that of servitorship, of being of service, and serving something beyond yourself, because your activity is not limited by a bodily boundary, by a personal needness. And thus, every action is limitless. And you find joy in it. It's genuinely joyous to be of service. And you need not be so serious about it. You see, this is kind of the secret to activity. To see it kind of like celebratory, with a celebratory attitude, right? Because then you don't take it seriously, but at the same time, you're involved wholeheartedly. There's complete and utter and absolute involvement with every activity and every moment. But at the same time, you kind of detach from it, right? You don't take it so serious, because it's like you're so present and grounded and rooted in the moment. But at the same time, your inner experience, your inner pleasantness is not dependent on the result or the activity itself. And you may not even be smiling, right? You want to be a smile millionaire. Anybody can collect as much paper as they want. But not everybody, necessarily has a inner competence to be a smile millionaire. Everybody can, but they may lack the willingness, right? And really, success is found in inner competence, like I said in the last video. And success is found in our degree of willingness, a repeated act of choice to choose happiness. And you do that repeatedly, it becomes automatic. You function joyously automatically. And your life is harmonious. Your existence is harmonious. And thus you uplift all of humanity by every thought, word, and deed. Your intention is to transfer your attention via whatever activity to the collective whole, to the whole of humanity, to the absolute whole. When you transfer your attention to the absolute whole, and that's your intention, then naturally you find joy in every activity. That's the attitude of service. So you don't have to take your work so serious, whatever it is. That's the whole message on this video, I guess. I just got back from a walk and, I really thinking about it. I'm like, man, I just got so much abundance. It's this overflowing joy that I want to share with the world. And I don't necessarily know how, other than to make these videos right now. So this is my form of service. And I hope you enjoy it. If you do, shoot me a thumbs up. Maybe 2. You can't really do 2, I guess. You can only like it once. But, hey, not doing it for likes. Is, whoever sees it, one person sees it and makes a difference, then, hey, I'm living my purpose. Right? We want to think beyond ourselves. Because that's where we find true happiness. To be of service. You're not going to find happiness in material success. Right? Because, that's temporary. The novelty will wear off eventually. Especially if you're just chasing after something endlessly. More and more and more. I call it the disease of more. Really, what we want more of is to serve the Lord. Serve the Lord in the form of our fellow man. And therefore, find lasting, eternal happiness. Because we can always do this, regardless of where we are or outer conditions, or whatever the activity. If our attitude is that of service, then whatever we do, we're never going to suffer the result. You see, I want you to remember that your outward action is never dependent on anything outside of your inner source intelligence that is at the heart of all of us. Each and every living entity already has pure love in their heart. It need not be found outwardly, but be discovered inwardly. That's a nuanced distinction. We want to realize our inner conscience and the faculty of discrimination so that we can read between the lines and discern essence from appearance, because our inner experience is never dependent on outer circumstances. We can experience and witness a heightened degree of inner pleasantness and realize our natural inner competence when we transcend the victim's mentality and realize our inner divinity. And it's actually uncanny. It's uncanny how the miraculous just seems to unfold and manifest by divine synchronicity when you realize your inner divinity. The progressive realization of your inherent perfection as you are right now. It need not be found It's already within you. It's in this eternal moment right now. This is eternity. No, I've said this in a lot of videos, right? But we really want to understand this, because when we realize that this is eternity right now, every single moment, then our actions today we're really going to be conscious and aware of what we do today, because that's going to affect our so-called tomorrow. And we will realize that our degree, our inner experience, our inner attitude affects not only our outward results, but how everybody else experiences us, right? Our degree of inner pleasantness is precisely and exactly reflected back to us accordingly. The world is simply a mirror, reflecting back to us that which we are, that which we've become. Not necessarily what we say we are, because anybody can talk a good game, right? Anybody can say, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm this, I'm that. But if they're not living it, they're not being it, then their words are meaningless. Because meaning is found in being it, and living it, and thus knowing it. Because we can't really know it unless we be it. We can read about it, we can hear about it, we can accumulate all the information, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're living it. And we really find true meaning and purpose in life by adjusting our being in a way that's harmonious to the world around us, and to be of service, and to have that inner attitude. Not to have it, but to be it. And when you be it, you'll automatically do it. We want to understand the order of operations. A lot of people get things mixed up. They try to start with having. They try to go and get this, as if their happiness is dependent on that. And there's a duality between this and that, as if they were separate. They're not. They're connected. And they try to start with having. And thus they mix up the order of operations. Because really, it starts with being. And when you be something, then you naturally do it. And then you'll end up having more than you know what to do with. When you, let's say, fast and practice semen retention and meditation, you're going to have more energy than you know what to do with. Your joy and abundance is going to be overflowing. And naturally, that's going to spill out of you into the world. And whatever your service is, whatever you do, whether you're cleaning toilets or whatever. And so the moral is, don't try to start with having. Don't try to, think your joy is outside of you. Because the source of pleasure is always within you. The source of power is within you. The power that is natural to the human existence. Our natural, superhuman capacity. Our supernatural capability. We don't even have to call it superhuman, because it's natural. It may seem supernatural to an outside observer again, but it's actually our natural way of being, to be joyous and to be happy when we realize this source intelligence, our natural inner abundance that's always inherent within us, never dependent on outer circumstances. Again, never let that dictate your inner experience. Always be joyous. And, some people may say, oh, that's not practical. But hey, it may not be for them. And, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm always joyous, but more times than not, more often than not, I'd say I'm happy, because I can say that I found what I've been looking for a while. For a while, I was confused. I was searching for it outside of me. I was seeking it outside, as if it need to be found. But it's always right now. It's always within you. The present is always presence. The love is inherent within us. It's an energy. It's not conditional. It's not dependent. You want to understand that love is force. It's not necessarily dependent on a relationship, because you're wholeheartedly involved with everything. There's no separateness. So thus there's always that love within you. And thus your inner attitude reflects that. Remember, your inner nature is never dependent on outer appearance. It all starts with your essence, the source within us, the source of life, and thus the source of all pleasure and power. Be conscious of the breath. And another thought that just surfaced in consciousness, brought to awareness, that I thought about on the walk was, if you're mocking somebody, going back to the beginning of the video, if you're looking at somebody and saying, wow, I'm glad I'm not that guy, I'm glad I don't have that job, you're laughing at them, mocking them. You're really mocking the source of life, which is inherent within them too. It's that self-same awareness in you, in me, and in everybody, in everything. Not just humanity, but everything in this three-dimensional reality is controlled by, is governed by, is given life by this fundamental source, the essence of life. And when you look down upon somebody or judge somebody or think you're better than somebody, really, you're confused, right? Because you're defining yourself as separate from them, as if the source of life can be split up and divided. And it can't be. Of course, we've all been gifted with divine individuality, right? God has given us independence and sovereignty, while simultaneously there's that sense of connectivity. And it may seem like a paradox, but not really. It's not when you really think deeply and you understand things from an expanded context in terms of essence, in terms of your inner witnessing. You could say your inner experience, but there's no experiencer, right? Because it's really more of a witnessing. Witnessing is an aspect or a function of consciousness. Consciousness, that which we are, pure, unfettered, unbounded, limitless awareness, which is timeless. And there's an aspect of us that's formless, right? That is beyond everything in this sensory reality. And we can get in tune with this source intelligence when we listen to our inner conscious and listen to our inner voice, and we let that guide us and lead us and direct us, and thus protect us. That unassailable protection is always with us. It's a living presence. It's actually a living force, like a force field that protects us at every single moment. Nothing on the surface, in this surface world, can affect you. It may be projected onto you, but it bounces off that force field and is reflected back to whatever. Somebody's projecting negative energy onto you, whatever. That's reflected right back to them because it can't get to you. Because the power of a pure heart is pure transcendence. Your very existence is the final word in transcendence. when you live in purity. And purity can be really defined as not consuming more energy than you need, right? Not constantly consuming and seeking outside of yourself. To be able to sit in the inner silence, stillness, and bliss. Because really, man is only ill because he doesn't know how to be still. Somebody who knows the stillness of their inner being, your inner beingness, is not affected by anything in the worldly appearance, in the worldly game, anything on the surface. And they see everything in terms of essence. They see that this temporary earthly experience, the human experience, is, kind of like a constant readjustment of surfaces, right? Things on the surface are constantly changing, but the essence, the constant within us never changes. That source intelligence is always with us, and it can't change. It may appear, in terms of appearance, it may seem like it does, but as the saying goes, things aren't always as they seem. We want to see beyond. See into our own beingness, and thus constantly live blissfully with a heightened degree of inner pleasantness. And our human earthly experience will reflect that purified consciousness, and the world will reflect that back to us, because again, the world is like a mirror, and whatever your experience is inwardly, whatever you're witnessing, because it's continuous, so it's a witnessing. It's not an experience, which could be defined as a certain point in time, and therefore in a sense limited by time. But witnessing is eternal. It's continuous again. And when your attitude is that of service, then you find eternal happiness. And the process is eternal. It's not limited. It's a joyous process. We can all witness this. There's no qualification. It doesn't require a degree. It doesn't require anything outwardly. It doesn't require that you have anything. Again, order of operations. Start with being. And your doing will naturally be harmonious, and thus you'll end up having outer abundance as well. That'll reflect your inner abundance, because ultimately there is no distinction between inner and outer. Your inner essence will manifest in terms of everything that is harmonious. We want to live a life in harmony, because heaven is really harmony, and it's here right now. It's all around. It's within you, unbound, unchained, completely free and liberated, not entangled, because you're not bewildered by a bodily identity, because you see things in an expanded context beyond a personal me. And thus your attitude is of constant service. You're an eternal servitor of the Lord. Therefore, you find joy, and it's eternal. joy, the power of a pure heart. You can't deny it. To be perpetually operating at full force in a proper balance, right? Because the heart is really the middle of the spine, the chakra system, the body, the mind. Body and mind can't be separated. It's like anything in this creation. This epic, unified field of creation. It's a reflection of our consciousness, the collective consciousness, which is really, at heart, one of abundance, never any scarcity. Humanity is really perfect as it is. Nothing need to be changed on the surface, because the inner essence is perfect. A lot of people try to change things outwardly, but again, we want to understand we're the cause. I'm the cause. The cause is within. Again, the heart being the middle of the system, the chakra system, the bodily system, the mental system, the emotional system, right? Love is not an emotion. It's a force. It's an energy. When we're operating here, we're completely in balance. We're not polarized to, transcendence, the crown chakra, and we're not polarized to Mother Earth, to groundedness, to understand our original nature, our groundedness, our ties in earthly sentiments, our connection to Mother Earth, and at the same time, understand our pure transcendence. When we understand our nature, both intellectually and experientially, we've witnessed it. Not personally, but, it's beyond a personality, right? We understand this one from its origin all the way to the ultimate. Then we can live in balance. We can choose to live from the heart space. When we identify with our energy, with life energy, we can kind of master it accordingly, right? We can understand whatever activity. We can consciously understand that, wow, this energy is kind of in this chakra right now. And thus we can choose to operate from the heart space and primarily live with compassion and understand that nothing in this world is separate. Anyways, I think that's all that the Lord wants me to say. Again, I don't take credit for this. This is not my words. It's just coming out of me, right? And that's really the benefit of wholehearted surrender. When you surrender the notion of a body-based identity, which is really ego, right? It's limited. Think that I'm this body. Nothing wrong with that. No need to judge it. I used to, for sure, so I can understand it. But when you feel that, and when you operate like that, and you're limiting yourself, we want to expand our conception of self. And when you mentally expand your conception of self, naturally, your inner experience will reflect that accordingly. And you'll be progressively more joyous. And you'll realize your inner divinity. And your identity will be with that a pure, unfettered consciousness. Your consciousness will consciously realize that you're naturally harmonious. And thus, you'll live a life of bliss and easygoingness. And the world will reflect back to you that inner competence and inner pleasantness. And beyond the surface appearance, at root, we all are timeless, formless, boundless awareness, pure awareness. When you witness the peak of consciousness, pure transcendence within yourself, you'll see that in everything else, naturally. You won't have to try. Life will be effortless. And of course, you'll put in the effort, right? Because it's not always easy. I'm not going to stand here and say to you that life is always joyous. But the reality is it can be, mostly, when you operate wholeheartedly with a sense of involvement with everything, with an attitude of service. Realize that you live in eternity, and thus you can adjust your actions accordingly. You don't have to feel like you're doing it, right? Because when you surrender yourself completely unto the Lord, unto the higher power within you, that's really greatness. It's nothing to claim personally, because you're a channel, and there's something on the floor. Think it's a mole or a mouse or something. It's that time of the year. Wintertime coming up, right? But our inner experience is not dependent on the weather. The contrast is nice. But behind the contrast, there's always a constant. I don't even know why I'm doing this with my hands. I just realized it. All the body language, right? Really, you can watch somebody on here and turn the video on mute. Just watch your body language. It's an interesting experiment, right? It's some homework for you. Turn the video, the noise down. Just observe their body language, because most of the communication is actually nonverbal. And here's some more homework. If you find yourself kind of feeling off, just remember that the source of pleasure is always within you. God bless, guys. Till the next time. Take care. Stay aware. And one more thing. It's not cool not to care. Because indifference or carelessness is not caring about the source of life. When you're indifferent to that out there, you're really careless about this in here. So there's no separateness. Realize your inherent connectedness. It's the biggest illusion in the human experience. The illusion of separation. We can all transcend this. Be a smile millionaire. Don't care whatever anybody else has to say about it. You can appreciate it, if it's a compliment, but your confidence is not dependent on a compliment because of your inner competence. When you know and witness that inner competence, then you're not cocky. You don't function with cockiness. Because cockiness is not confidence. It's actually a lack of inner competence. I'm not cocky. I'm confident. So I don't really need no compliments. That's a good affirmation. I'm not saying me personally, but, just repeat that many times. I'm not cocky. I'm confident. So I don't really need no compliments. All right? You can kind of flow with it. But get a little rhythm going. Everything sound, right? Vibration. Right now. And a repetition of God's name. Whatever that is. Repeat it. Repeat it. Repeat it. Give your attention to that inner repetition. To the collective whole with that intention. Because really there's no individuals that need saving. All of reality is really an energy field to uplift and reinforce. And we can do this when we witness that intention inwardly of being of service and to transferring your attention to all of humanity, whatever it may be, whatever the activity, whether it be in a repetition of God's name, or whether it be cleaning toilets. And your inner attitude is harmonious, you're automatically uplifting humanity. There's no better activity. His job's not better than your job just because he's making more money. If your inner attitude is blissful cleaning toilets, and he's, making millions, but it kind of lacks, that inner competence, then, your job's really better, you could say. All right, I'm going for real this time. Love you guys.